threw us off. So back to live. No.
Well, if it kicked us off, let me call him back real quick because he just called me three
We're
times in a
live. We're
row.
live again. Like I
Live again.
said,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. You already clicked
I
it. Sure,
stopped it
whatever.
and then like I thought because I didn't know what happened, so I stopped it and then I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
you
didn't
try
know.
to jump right back in.
Yeah, I hit, decline, and then he just keeps calling me right now. So I don't know where this is coming from, but either way, yeah, I'm done with. Oh, we had the Fatal Four Way. Oh, Sami Zayn and like Jay or the
You talking
Usos.
about Gunther and his depth of heelness.
Oh, okay. Uh, well, yeah, I got that point out already. It's just been shallow, like you said, like just the street trash. It came out of nowhere. Like he's only been mat based, like with even his insults. It's always been just been that you can't fuck with me. So that's what I didn't like as far as like the change in his character since becoming champion because it doesn't go with his long term booking or long term story of his character. That's just what. That's all I was gonna say. But yeah, that's like you said. It's just pretty cheap. That's just cheap like '80s stuff where it's like get in the back of the line type of shit, I guess. But
Yeah. You want to get into the other primo? You
yes,
gotta get through some
exactly.
of these a little quicker.
Uh-huh. Sammy reconnecting with the Usos, was this everything that you wanted? Or at least building up to it, obviously, further in the week they get reunited. We'll talk about it. But like I thought it was pretty good. Looking back on like the whole week of events and like, the little trail of chocolate chips they've been, leaving for us. Obviously, Sammy is original bloodline, but even just like the little throw off at the end of like, Jimmy talking to Jay, and it's like, hey, check out Sammy. He talking to Solo at the end of the episode. And it's like, yeah, what the fuck he talking to Solo about? So I thought that was like very well done, even just using that like little split level action of like them like being lower than the parking lot, but you could see them in the background. I thought that was very well done. So I like that, like Jimmy coming to get his brother and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was fine. I think what I do like that it does carry over into. Well, I put this in primo is more so the fact that like storylines occurring over from one show to another.
Hmm.
Um, it just kind of reminds me of how Raw and SmackDown used to be when SmackDown first kind of came on. It was like, okay, like the main show was Raw, but like there were some storylines that kind of carried over onto SmackDown that eventually like carried back onto Raw. So I like that. I do agree with Jimmy's point. That was like, yo, like he's not family in this situation. And so um I'll hold my further point is for SmackDown, but for just living with this in a vacuum, I was like, pretty good promo. Uh, I think I'm getting a little tired of Sammy, but I get it. He is necessary for the storyline, so I'll go with it. So that's why I have it at primo. But it's kind of like fighting for its primo spot.
I get you.
It's more like it's barely a primo.
Yeah, I also did like how when Jay was like talking to Jimmy and he's like, that was pretty rude to say to Sammy. I shouldn't have told him that, that he's not family. And then like
Yeah,
Jimmy's response is like, but he's not. Like just,
yeah,
matter of fact about it. And that's what I thought was like really funny of like, yeah, y'all taking this like Uso shit like way too seriously. Just the ridiculousness of like wrestling again. It's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, the whole world thinks Sammy is like y'all brother. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I thought that was very sobering, and I was glad that Jimmy said that because he also like shrugged his shoulders of like, it's not a big deal. Like, why are you tripping off that? Like, basically, we got bigger fish to fry. So I like that.
All right, let's get into
Uh,
these mids.
yeah. Miz being held by the Wyatt Six. I'm glad that they're back on TV or have a program coming. Clearly, um, dog, you should have known that this was coming the second you betrayed R-Truth. You know what I mean? Like R-Truth is an eternal face, just like Rey Mysterio is. Like we must protect him at all costs. And the fact that the Miz, gives him skull crashing finale, you should not be surprised that Uncle Howdy's looking for your ass because he's like, no, but it was Carrion. Carrion convinced me to do it. He's like, oh no, I was looking for you. I was looking for you, fuck nigga. Yeah, what you
I
gonna do
mean, they
now?
were going back even further than the R-Truth stuff. They were going back to like they showed a
Yeah,
clip
yeah.
when like Miz was like IC champion, saying
Way
something to yeah. So it was just like okay, like they went back in the memory bank to give their validation. So it's gonna be interesting. I mean, I wonder what happens because it's like, before with the Wide Six, it was 4-on-4, for the most part with the wide, with the American made and, with the Wide Six. Now it's like, okay, it's just the Miz with nobody else against the
yeah.
Wide Six. So it's like, how does that work out? So interesting to say the least. But
What if we're I want to grab onto what you just said. Like, what is it like when it's one person versus all of the Wyatt Six? Because, I had that thought of like when they were first debuting and we were getting those vignettes of like Uncle Howdy being like a therapist with the Wyatt
mhm.
Six and they're like talking about their feelings and stuff. Maybe he's like I guess like a tormentor in that way. I don't want to say like just he's not brainwashing Miz, but like, I don't know, psychological torture of some type. Like, we're going to have to get the way that vignette was set up in this dark void of a room and we have no idea where Miz is. I would expect Miz to be like mentally fucked up by the time that we see him again, assuming, Uncle Howdy is just torturing him. Because what else is Uncle Howdy doing right now? That's my question. It's like when you had Mercy the Buzzard come up behind him and looked like he broke his neck, or at the very minimum, he just choked him out, at that point in time. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm very interested in to see like what the effect on Miz is, really.
Do you think we get another video vignette, or do you think we see something in the arena next week?
Um, I'll give you another vignette first. Like set it one more vignette and then come into the ring. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they're in the ring next week either way. I like the Wyatt Six, and
I guess
they
it'd be
aren't
like, how did the
smothering.
Miz just like pop up out of nowhere when he was just like kidnapped? So it's like, I guess
Yeah,
another vignette would work.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
What about
all
your
right.
thoughts
So I
on
think
that?
we're both trending mid rising on that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we didn't give it any grades, but yeah, mid rising. Like I said, they're not smothering. I think maybe just because it was their very first program, working
hmm
with Alpha Academy and stuff, that like we were just getting the same like tag match or multi intergender whatever variation of a match for
I'd
that
be
whole
curious.
straight month.
I'd be curious to see if I'm blanking on her name on the White Six.
Oh, Nikki Cross.
Yeah, Nikki Cross. I wonder if she gets in a little feud with Maurice.
Oh, okay. That would be cool to see Maurice in like one of those vignettes. I could see her being like terrified or something
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah. No, that's good. See,
Um.
interested to see where that goes. Um,
Yeah. To the other mid rising, I guess this would be a mid rising for me, but Io Sky winning the number one contenders battle royal for the women's championship.
I have no problem with this. I like it. I would have it at mid stable only because in the moment, like I fucking love EO. Like EO might be best wrestler in the world. She's definitely best high flyer in the world for sure. But just only at the point of like watching the match, I was in for Lyra Valkyria. Like, so I thought she was gonna win. Obviously, like, EO's more established, so I thought this was like a case of like, Lyra. We gave Lyra the huge advancement in the Queen of the Ring tournament until she gets squashed by Nia. I thought she might get over the hump this time. I'm not mad at EO winning it. She can hold the belt whenever she wants to, as far as I'm concerned. But between the ropes, I was like, oh, is she gonna do this? And then German suplex on the apron. I was like, oh shit, yeah, that'll do it. So not mad at the finish. It was great stuff.
That's interesting. I would have. I think the outcome, if Lyra would have won, I think our opinions would have been flipped. I would have been like mid flat
Yeah.
because I would like. I was like, okay, yeah, Triple H wants to get her girl over. He's done with EO. He just wants to be like, okay, I want to get Lyra back up because we brought her up and then Becky left and then, she kind of felt a little stale. So now this is an opportunity to kind of put her up back into the ring. So when EO won, I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to figure out different things to do in these Royal Rumble battle royal situations other than every time it's near the end, we're just always hanging
Mhm.
out on the south side of the ring. Like,
Yeah,
how idiotic can everybody be
that it's just
to
ending there
just
all the
like put
time.
themselves in the like the most precarious position for how many fucking times, how many
Yeah.
minutes? So that it's mid rising because EO won, and I believe. I mean, I think this would probably be true regardless if even Lyra won the match. I think Liv is gonna lose the title because she has that ring, and she had that ring could only be won by someone that was a champion facing another champion. And so it's like even if she used to lose the belt, like she still has the ring for the validation, and that just gives her a reason to be more of an ass. You know what I'm saying? Even if she doesn't have the belt, the ring gives her the validation to be an ass, and then it gives WWE a reason to have some bit of mention of it on TV.
The kayfabe of that sickens me. Like if
That's not
we end
kayfabe.
up
That's shoot.
anyway, yeah. Okay, yeah, I am reversing it in that sense. But yeah, you're just keeping the crown or trying to make it more canon like after the fact by like
Hmm.
Liv wearing this fucking ring. So yeah, that does make sense and that sickens me as I hear that. But yeah, in the shoot sense, that sickens me. Um
I wouldn't be surprised if that was like her like brass knuckles.
well yeah, that's what I
Her,
told you
her like you know
before.
how
I only
Logan
reviewed
Paul
it.
pulled out like whatever his fucking ring
Yeah,
is,
'cause
whatever.
I said that last episode is like the only thing that I believe that it's doing is because that's MJF's, the Dynamite
Mm.
diamond ring. And I was like, he has me believing in a diamond ring more than anybody ever has. So the fact that I see that, I was like, okay, that's not a coincidence. Like when I saw it, because we just saw these big ass title belts the entire time leading up to the pay per view. And it's not until afterwards that it's like, oh, yeah, you guys are getting these rings. Okay, sure. Um, do you have anything else for besides the precarious standing on the apron ending of all these battle royals? I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Io's gonna win her what second, third women's championship.
There, yeah.
I'm calling that.
I like it. I like it. We are in the shake zone now. This would be the Reggie zone for you because both are dealing with Adam Pierce. So
Yeah,
it's just one big segment. But
Adam Pierce. I
this,
gave Adam Pierce a break this week because he definitely deserved Reggie.
yeah, so I was thinking in the fact of like just being the general manager and being physically threatened. See, now you're at the point. Now everybody saw you being an ass and getting involved in a match that you didn't have anything to do with in Crown Jewel, and you take a RKO. I said that at that point in time. I'm like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Even me, like these are two SmackDown guys. Why are you running out here? And you get an RKO. Now everybody on the roster, they're like, oh, I can put hands on this nigga. Clearly, it was like, oh, I'll just beat your ass since you ain't gonna do nothing about it. So I had that in shake because Carrion would have been uh Reggie and Braun Breaker would have been mid. So they averaged out to a shake as far as like
Yeah,
Adam Pierce threats went for the week. And also Adam Pierce in another segment saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna celebrate you guys. The New Day 10-year anniversary next week." This is where I was saying, hopefully, I would like to see Big E, like stop all this drama and shit. But we have yet we have yet to see what it's gonna be. I don't know, but I will say with it, like us fans, like knowing that ahead of time, just tells me once again, like, man, Trips is so good at like listening to these fans or us as fans. Like, not to say that he wasn't planning this shit already, obviously, but the fact that like I remember people talking about the fact that this was the New Day 10-year anniversary like 4 months ago. And it's like clearly this is what we're building towards, or whenever the Kofi and Woods stuff first started.
yeah. I mean, they've been
So
talking about this, so it's not surprising.
yeah,
Like we were always gonna lead up to here. That's why, like, even this segment this week with them, like having miscommunication in their tag match is like, okay, y'all been doing that for like 3 months because y'all been stalling.
yeah, exactly right.
um, Yeah, again, and Adam Pierce, I gave him a pass, but I'll just give him Reggie again, the Adam Pierce Reggie Raw Award. Because the way the show started was an opening segment between Raquel and Liv came out. They were talking, doing their I'm supposed to be bad when I'm really not that bad. Um, then Bianca and then Jade come out, and they started getting into a verbal confrontation, and then who decides to come out and strut some authority when it's four women in the ring? Adam Pearce. He's like, "Oh, we're not doing this. We're not doing it." Let it, Bronson retake over your joint. Let all this on it. But hey, these women, I can come in here and I can say, "Oh no, we're not fighting here, women. We're not doing that on my time. I'm the authority figure." Fuck out of here, Adam Pearce. That's why you got the Reggie Award. That's why you got the Raw Reggie Award is named after you, Adam Pearce, because you suck.
Yeah.
The GM Adam Pearce sucks.
I didn't put it in Shake, although I should have, but I'm glad you brought up like the opening segment, because this is like the first even sprinkling of or hint towards like a Bianca and Jade.
I wouldn't even call that. That's so heavy-handed because Liv is not a good heel right now.
That's a moot point because she's still saying the lines. Whether we support her or not, she's still being a heel, and there would be no reason for Bianca and Jade to obviously break up for any reason at this point. They're the tag team champions, but at least she's just, I'm not going to say acknowledging what we're thinking, but like, it's just the Easter egg for the future for whenever that happens. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't even call that an Easter egg. That's just low-hanging fruit. Because again, there's no. I would take it more serious if it came from Karrion Kross than it did from Liv Morgan.
Well, that's the thing of that's where I'm like, it was bad in the sense like her saying, "Oh, wait till like Bianca pulls out her knife and stabs you in the back," and it's like, yo, you have no evidence of this at all. It would be different if this was like Kevin Owens you're talking about. That's why it's
like Karrion Kross has built legitimacy on his claims about somebody turning on you. If it was Karrion Kross, it'd be way more legitimate than Liv saying that. She just was like, "Oh, I read the internet. This is what bad people say, right? This is what a heel says, right?"
I don't think it was that. I think it was her just being a bad heel in the sense of like, you should know what you're talking about as like the women's world champion, but clearly you're just an airhead. That's kind of like what I think is bad about Liv, where like obviously it's completely the character, but it's just she's so arrogant, she's not grounded at all. I guess that's what
she's a character of a bad person. She doesn't have any depth. There's no she's playing a character of a bad person. There's no depth to her badness. Her badness was all tied up with Rhea Ripley. Yeah, if there's no Rhea Ripley, she's a likable person. She's not a bad person. Like she's not a really good heel in that sense because there's no depth to her heelness. The same thing with Gunther right now. It's like you're passing by Gunther. His heelness gets a little bit easier to pass by just because like of the stereotypes that he can fall back on. Mm-hmm. But it's like, as far as like what he's saying, it's like, bro, like you got to be better than this. It's not saying he's bad, but like more so it's like what you're saying and what you're doing just lacks depth.
Yeah.
So, anything else on the flagship show?
No, that's that.
All right, let's move over to a doubleheader on Wednesday because Tuesday was election day, and so everybody cleared the paint for that. Well, NXT cleared the paint for that, and they was like, "Hey, we'll go on Wednesday," and so we won't step over the originator on the Wednesday. So we'll start off with the coffee shop before we get to the bodega. So let's go with the coffee shop. Let's start with Dynamite.
Yeah, we were definitely in lockstep where the best thing on this show was the non-contest between Orange Cassidy and Pac and Claudio in their tag team match on Darby Allin. There we go. That's the name I was missing. But loving the continuing, because I really thought that this was gonna come to a pinfall as I was watching it, just because it's a nothing tag match. But of course, like when Moxley comes in and they just interrupt all that shit, I'm like, why did I think anything else was gonna happen? I think this is like maybe where I'm starting to get that this isn't your show anymore. If it's him just doing this, then that's literally, you can't breathe without me. You know what I'm saying? That's enough of a threat by itself. It's like you can't have a fucking match without me because I will come out here and fuck it up. But yeah, just more inflicting all the punishment. Like, how do you feel about this this segment or this match that wasn't a
No,
match
I mean,
that
I
ended
thought it
in no
was all,
contest?
I thought it was all entertaining. I mean, from the jump, just saying Darby Allin just like fly out of the nowhere, like Spider Man, just to kind of like start all the conflict and things of that nature. Um, the action was high paced. I think this is kind of like one of my problems, I guess, with the show as well, and it kind of gets to my mid. Um, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of chaos that happens on Dynamite
Yeah,
and like during matches, like just throughout the show. There's a lot of things that are happening, and so I think this no DQ, no contest was better than the Kyle Fletcher, Tacheshka and Ricochet Powerhouse Hobbs. Like that one, I thought it was also a really good match, but near the end, it just got a little just too busy for me. That I was just like, I'd rather one of these things end in an actual pinfall.
yeah,
And the way that John Moxley and crew came through and just demolished everything and just was like throwing motherfuckers at like I was like, all right, this looks badass.
yeah.
So
Uh,
that's why I give that the edge and why I put that at primo.
okay, it's funny because Shoes was saying how like BCC, their gimmick has clearly just become like 40-year-olds who could possibly kill you if they wanted to. Like just that's just it. Just 40-plus-year-olds who could kill you if they want. I was like, yeah, that's pretty serious. Like you see Moxley like walking down the street, you're like, all right, I ain't. He looks abrasive. You don't want to see him in a dark alley. But we did differ on this. I just didn't put the Konosuke Takeshita. I didn't see that match, so that's why I didn't have it on there. But yeah,
hmm
the Adam Cole going over Malachi Black. The question of everybody's having is like, is Malachi Black done in AEW? Because Adam Cole did have a short period of after he wins the match where he's just putting over Malachi, like you're so awesome as a wrestler and all this stuff. Clearly, like breaking kayfabe and all that stuff, and they hug, and it's like, oh, is Malachi done with AEW? Which that wouldn't surprise me, obviously, but either way, I like it. Doesn't matter where he's at. Once I'm a fan of you, I'll just follow you wherever. So as long as he's on TV, then I'll be
Yeah.
happy to see him.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a pretty decent match. I mean, if anything, I probably would have had it in shake because it just didn't really stick out to me. But I mean, it's good to see it kind of, I like the countdown. It's like, yeah, that's one match down. I got two more to, get my match against MJF. So it's building onto the storyline.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like the Kyle Fletcher, Tasheshka, and yeah, Ricochet and Powerhouse Hobbs match. Again, it was a really good match. Similar in the vein of, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Pac, and Claudio,
Hmm.
with Ricochet being the high flyer and things of that nature. Um, I like the little things with the Don Callis family that was kind of mentioned where it's like, Powerhouse Hobbs, like his contract was up. And so that's why I got him because he was a surprise partner for Ricochet in
Okay.
that situation. Like I said, the ending was just again with the other no contest earlier in the night, and this also ending in also another no contest. It was just like I believe it ended in no contest. It was just a little too much for me. It was just like it was a little over. It was an overbook ending for me in this match that I knocked it down to mid. But
Yeah.
it's still a really good match.
It says on the shake that they, or I said the shake on Bleacher Report. It says that they won. It doesn't say
Oh,
how so, but it says defeated. It doesn't say pinfall or anything though.
I forget. Like I said, like again, that's where again it just was so overbooked that I'm just like
Hmm.
this. Again, it didn't need. It could have just been a straight up match with them just ending it. It had too much interference and things at the end. That I'm just like that's why I feel like it felt like it ended in no contest. But clearly I was
Yeah.
wrong. And but still, nonetheless, overbooked ending brings it down for me.
I get exactly what you're saying because you're like, it could have just been, hey, just run with these four guys,
Exactly.
like that's it. So, especially for you to like or well, granted, they didn't no contest it, but I understand exactly the sentiment you're saying when it feels so jumbled at the end that it's like you
Yeah.
lose track of like, okay, what happened here? All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. For me, my other mid that I have, mid rising, is the pull apart brawl of Jay White and Hangman,
Hmm.
which I'm still honestly, I'm still not completely sure of like what their beef is. I think I was sure that like Jay White maybe got taken out by Hangman, but if that's not true, then clearly Jay White has just been on one because he's been gunning for him. That's what like whenever somebody's gunning for one specific person, that's usually like the kayfabe response is like, oh well, he took me out, so this is your motivation coming back. And since he's only had this tunnel vision for Hangman, that's the only way I can imagine it. But we'll get my story straight one day. But either way, I'm at the point now where I just want to see them go at it because I really do like love Jay White in ring, and Hangman has at this point, since post this chapter with Swerve, he's established himself as like a fucking psychopath, basically, when it comes to like in ring and outside the ring in character. So I'm ready for the match now. Full Gear's in 2 weeks. I'm ready for that. I'm already at the point of like just put it in the ring.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a good brawl. Like I said, I think for me with this show, it was a decent show. It was a pretty good show. Um, it was just a lot of just like chaoticness happening. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? We had chaoticness with with the opening tag match, with Claudio and Orange Cassidy and all of them. You had the learning tree versus what's
the conglomeration,
the
the
conglomeration.
conglomeration.
And then
Yeah,
you had a lot of these segments. You had Mercedes and running over Chris Statlander almost running over Chris Statlander in the parking lot and things of that nature. You had this brawl. It's like there's just so much. And then again, with the Powerhouse Hobbs ending and things of that nature, it was just like a lot of chaoticness. I'm like, man, can y'all like spread this out a little bit? Like
yeah. Take a
so
breath.
much is
Yeah.
happening.
Hmm.
But that's just me.
Yeah, that's all I got for them now. Yeah, no, I get you. Uh, to the bodega we go.
Yeah. Excuse me. And it's at
Thank-
in Philly this week at the old ECW arena, 2300 arena. Um, what stood out to you?
Yep, we got the same primo. It was that main event of the you have this Zarya pinning Roxanne. I got this as the 5v
Yeah,
5 women's main event. And like that's the shot when anytime you see that match on SmackDown or Raw, it always feels like we're doing this because we have to. Or anytime you would see that kind of a match when it's
yeah,
just like the 4-on-4, 5-on-5.
kind of
And
what
this
they
is
did on
like,
Raw.
yeah. And I cannot remember a time when there's been this many women outside of like the Royal Rumble where you actually cared. Like about all of them, maybe not every single one of them individually, but literally 9 out of the 10. Like, and it just shows like the strength of the division itself. And I would be like, oh yeah, best women's division in wrestling. I'd say as far as a brand goes, I would have it over Raw or SmackDown for sure. Um, it was just everything that you wanted it to be. Jordan Grace is crazy. Hot tag she gets the whole Juggernaut run off in there. It was seamless. It was completely seamless. And then it ends in like the oh shit, definitely an oh shit of Zarya pinning Roxanne. Because yeah, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, I mean, you had 4 other people to put their shoulders on the mat, so that was surprising for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with everything you pretty much said. I mean, like I have it in the doc as Zarya pinning Roxanne because that was kind of the most surprising aspect of the match. Obviously, it was the ending. I mean, just even seeing just Roxanne lose it was just like, oh wow, okay, like you'd be curious to see if she did lose. Like, if she lost, you wouldn't even think that she would actually be the one being pinned.
Yeah.
You thought you would think it'd be somebody else taking that pin. So the fact that she took it and it was Zarya that took it, it's like that got the pin. That was the most interesting of it. But yeah, I mean, all of them on both sides were great. Shout out to the Masked Man show for getting me hip because I think they explained it really well about Kalani Jordan, where it's like her presentation, and like, her being such a clean cut baby face makes her seem like she's like the size of Zelina Vega when
Yeah.
really she's like, not saying she's like Bianca, but like she's pretty like athletically built and she's not a small person. Like she's not like Jade Cargill tall, but she ain't like, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know, Alexa Bliss out here.
Yeah. Or Melina.
So,
Yeah. Melina was like super tiny too back in the day.
but yeah, I mean, everybody looked great and did their thing. And like I said, I think you hit it on the nail on the head. Like they have one of the best rosters. I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's easy to say that just because we know the name. I mean, I guess I'm more saying that like I can agree with that sentiment, even though like I would like to see more of some of the newer talent,
Yeah.
like at least newer to the WWE, not newer to the business, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, that was
You
the
got
high point of this entire show for me. For
yeah,
me, for my mid, the only other thing I cared about was Javon Evans versus Wesley.
yeah,
And this is a mid rising for me. I really like that. This is the feud that Wesley needed when he was turning on, or when he was unconvincingly turning on his rascal partners and stuff.
yeah.
This is like really the follow up where it should be, because like Javon is also on the rise and a high flying, small guy that you could like, I want to just say throw around, but he's in your weight class. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more believable that you could be heelish with him and stuff like that. So uh I'm glad it was RBD. He fits this one. He's the high flyer of like old ECW that people would think of. So the fact that he was the one involved, I thought was perfect. I thought we might get a like him being in the ring, but hindsight, I'm glad that he wasn't. So that it was just an appearance last week, and he's like, "Yeah, y'all ready to take it to the extreme, Ava?" And then, he
I mean,
shows up this
Wesley
week.
jumped
So
him. Wesley
yeah,
jumped him backstage, so not
yeah,
too, not impossible.
yeah. He's still taking bumps. It's like that's like the basement level of like, okay, he's still active. Like you can still
Yeah.
feel good about it. You're like, all right,
Yeah, I liked it as well. I debated whether I want to have this on like mid or shake for myself. I think I'd have it at shake just for the fact that
mm-hmm.
I'm like good match, but you can still see like Javon Evans has a lot of potential, a lot of stuff. It still needs to do some cleaning up
Oh yeah,
because I like the attempt on that last frog splash. The kind of coast to coast, but
mm-hmm.
wasn't clean. And
Yeah.
that's what, at least the 2 times in 3 weeks
Oh,
where
like
you
yeah,
haven't been
kind
able
of
to be able to be clean.
not yeah, yeah, not exactly hit your mark the way you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm
Yeah, because that
like, that's
was
why I kind of like, and again, you're doing difficult stuff, but if you're going to do
yeah,
it, you got to hit it.
yeah.
And
It's
it's
hard to
hard to say it's live and everything, but it's just like, again, it's NXT. If this was Raw, I'd be way harsher, but
yeah,
it's not.
yeah. It goes to show that like yeah, body control. Like Ricochet talks about body control. Like that shit is a superpower in itself. Like I didn't know that. I mean, I should have thought it, but I did watch his Chris Van Vliet interview, and it's like he didn't wrestle for. Everybody thought he was like a born wrestler. He was like, "Oh yeah, the only thing I did for 12 years was gymnastics," and I'm like, "Oh, that tracks."
Hmm.
Like, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. So no wonder he can just do all of this shit, like make it look fucking easy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now add in or make the reverse of Ricochet when it's like, oh, this kid has only been doing wrestling and he's trying to do the gymnastic part, like at the very end. So can't fault him at all.
No, I
Like you said,
can't
all the
fault him. Like
potential
I
is
said,
there.
it's just like, You know, it's
Unfortunate,
always you could probably hit that. He probably hit that how many times clean?
Mhm.
You know, 9 times clean, and then on that 10th try, it just so happened to be live on television.
Yeah.
Just didn't work out. So you just hope to figure out you get into a point where it's just like I'm making this look good, no
Mhm.
matter the situation. So
Yeah,
I'll
that's
leave
all,
that at shake.
for sure.
Um, the last thing I wanted to call out, and again, it's kind of similar to what I have for my primo. Ridge Holland pinning Trick Williams in the
Mhm.
tag team match that they had. It was what Bubba and Trick
Rick.
versus Ethan Page and Ridge, and then yeah, Ridge got the 1, 2, 3. So seems like he's going to be in line for a title shot for the NXT Championship. I imagine he loses because Ethan Page is going to be like, "Yo, that's my title, that's my spot." So it kind of gets him and Ethan Page into a rivalry. But yeah, big ups to Ridge. You know, long way coming up, man. Like, you know, from, you know, what happened unfortunately on SmackDown to you and Big E, which was obviously an accident, to, you know, coming back down and kind of rediscovering yourself, and, you know, you had a pretty good, you know, feud with Andre Chase. And now you're looking like you're in line for an NXT title shot. So again, surprise here. Keeping it mid rising because I'm curious to see how it plays out for Ridge, because it seems like he's working his way back up into getting called up on the main roster soon.
Yeah, and not to mention, like I was surprised by it, obviously, because he hasn't had a title shot. Not that I can even remember, even an NXT title shot. So, like, he has all of the tools, right? You know, just physically, like looking at him, you're like, oh yeah, this is a fucking heavyweight guy that could be holding any one of these titles right now. So, I'd say this is the most I care about Ridge. You care about Ridge more than when he was part of the Brawling Brutes, like when
No,
him and
I care more
him and
about Butch. Don't
Brawl.
beat me up, Pete Dunne.
But at that point in time, you cared about the Brawling Brutes like Ridge Holland and Pete Dunne, though.
I
The
care
tag team when they were
about
on
Butch.
SmackDown.
I care more about Butch.
Okay, so no. All right.
Yeah,
That's all right. So that's what I was saying. I was like, I think this is the most I've ever cared about Ridge Holland. So they're doing
yeah.
something right for sure. All right, that's all I wanted to say. I was making sure we or it's getting that idea across to you.
Um, let's get on to that's the bodega, right?
Yep, that's all I had.
All right, let's get into the book of wrestling. And I don't have the music for this week, but we got some things to talk about.
We'll put it there, people. Yeah.
Yeah, we that. I just got to add it to the Riverside music library here. Yeah, we got a couple of them. I have what I want to say 3. Yeah, I have about 3. Yeah, I have 3 um specific bring a book of wrestling facts that I want to kind of talk about together. So you could start with yours, and then I'll get to my
Okay.
second one.
Yeah, this is I think Professor Jason X, the YouTube channel that I told you that I follow, and all he does is post media because he's the one I'm scrolling YouTube, and he reminds me that November the 8th, and I checked, you know, our usual website just to confirm
Mm-hmm.
this, 2005, the greatest time when a baby was ever used as a football, when Snitsky turns a baby into a football in front of Lita. And it's so it's so ridiculous just like looking back at like this age of, you know, ruthless aggression, 2005. It's like this whole Snitsky storyline with like Kane getting Lita pregnant and all this stuff. What the
Yeah.
hell are we doing? This is a bit of me of like this is like the leftover, you know, you throw a rock in a pond and it's a tidal wave, you know, on the other side of the world. Like I feel like this is the pebble of like just 80s gimmick wrestling. Just we didn't know what to do with this guy outside of him just being a psychopath. Like we just want him to be the most reprehensible person
And
ever.
dude's putting the microphone to the baby. It's like, say something, baby. Shut up. And it's like, it's hilarious.
So
And he
stupid. And then
Anchorman kicks this baby, like, right?
yeah, he does a whole like wind up, like his legs go behind him. Yeah, like kicks the shit out of this baby into the stratosphere. And I just remember it as the Snitsky punching a baby like segment on Raw. But yeah, Hall of Fame moment. And I was like, this is what the book of wrestling is for, because you don't want to just keep repeating, oh, this pay-per-view happened. Of course, it's always the same pay-per-view during the same point of year.
It's gonna be the same pay-per-view all the time. So yeah, that's a good
exactly.
one. It's a good one. It gets us a little, the funnier side, and not just the history of it. Another fun one. November 4th, 1986. John Carpenter's They Live is released in cinemas. You'd be like, how does that relate to wrestling? It has no. You didn't say anything wrestling about it. You just said John Carpenter. It's just a movie reference. Well, starring Roddy Piper.
There we are. There's the mainstream crossover back in '86. He's on top of the world.
Yeah, it's considered one of the classics of the horror genre in the 1980s. And I'll say John Carpenter, I feel like there's probably some I would have to look at it, but again, that just kind of gets to my point. I've been wanting to go through like the filmography of John Carpenter and, starting from like, what was the first night? It was I'm blanking on it.
Halloween? That's his first one, ain't it?
I think actually I've seen Halloween. There's one after that. Okay. They Live, that's not the one in the ice, is it? I feel like there's one in the ice.
The Thing? The Thing is
the Thing. That's the Thing.
Yeah, that's John Carpenter.
Yeah. I've got that's a blank spot that I need to clear up. So shout out to Roddy Piper, RIP, and John Carpenter. Keep doing your thing if you are alive. I don't think you're alive, but let's continue. I'll continue on to the book of wrestling. So I got a three-peat here, and this is interesting just to kind of just talk about the state of wrestling during at a very pivotal time. So we'll go in order. November 7th, 1994, Randy Savage is announced to be no longer with the WWE. So on Monday Night Raw, Vince McMahon himself announced that Macho Man Randy Savage had left the WWE after a 20-year stint. He would debut for WCW weeks later. Savage never appeared for WWE again before his death in 2011. He was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015. Thoughts before I continue on?
Man, Randy is... He's what I thought of as, I mean, obviously Hulk Hogan is like the mainstream of all mainstream, but being a 90s kid that snapped into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, Slim Jim. Yeah.
That was like, there was nothing better than seeing Randy do that over and over again. Like,
I knew him more as that guy than the wrestler.
Me too. That's what I was like. But I knew that he was a wrestler, so I was just like, fuck with this guy. Like, basically. So that's
it's just wild to be like, yo, man, like he never came back to the WWE. That's wild.
Right.
That's wild. Unfortunate, with the car accident and things of that nature. Like, you imagine if he was still alive, he'd probably would have came back.
Yeah.
To a show, but just to never get that chance, that sucks. But I'll continue on into more of, again, the transformative mid-90s era of wrestling. November 4th, 1996. Some dude named Rocky Maivia debuted. And
some guy, just some dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Pillman's got a gun. So in 1996, a rookie named Rocky Maivia, who most know who went to a modicum of fame as The Rock, made his televised debut in WWF by getting involved in a melee following a match between Goldust and the Stalker. So obviously, The Rock's debut is mostly billed as Survivor Series at MSG, but this claims to dispute that fact. I believe I saw this. If you go back and look at it, it's like he's just one of the dudes that's just, the random bunch of people that come from the back to like break up a brawl.
Yeah.
I think he was one of those dudes. So it wasn't necessarily like him having like a moment. It was just like, oh yeah, like this dude for whatever reason was like, no, you shouldn't be fighting. Come on, guys, break it up. So But more famously on that same episode of Raw, the infamous angle where Stone Cold Steve Austin invaded Brian Pillman's home in order to
Mm.
attack his former tag team partner. The reason the angle took on such a controversial slant is that Pillman pulled a gun on Austin while defending his home. The angle was condemned by fans, critics, and regulators.
I just remember, like, obviously, as much as I've watched wrestling, I remember watching this segment by osmosis because they've gone back to it in clips so many times. So
Yeah.
like really it's just been like that's like that's one of the moments where I think I really realize that wrestling is a soap opera. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because that's like such an extreme thing. Like, because that just grounds us like in cave or that grounds us in the real world, like so heavily, like seeing a gun. So the fact that like, you got Pillman like, I swear to God, I'll fucking do it. Like, just being a crazy person. I was just like, as a kid, very uncomfortable. So it's like, granted, my mom didn't see me watching that, but I could see her be like, what the fuck are you watching? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But even at
So
the
that
time, you're
doesn't
probably
surprise me
watching
hearing that.
it. Even at the time, you're not watching it at 96. You know what I'm saying? You're watching this
Yeah.
as like a 2002, 2003, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you have a sense of like television, right? Compared to like 96, there was people like grown folks calling, 911 talking about like, oh my God, this man's got a gun or whatever. Even when like Rey Mysterio got thrown, like when the NWO jumped everybody at WCW and like Kevin Nash threw Rey Mysterio into like the television production truck, they were like people were calling police in that area saying that like there's a jumping going on. There's blah 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 blah. It's just like, oh my God, like guys are fucking idiots and stupid. But again, look at where we're at today. We're
The good
living in
old days of
idiocracy.
kayfabe. Still, yeah, exactly.
Look where we're at today. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Final one here to wrap up the transformative year. So we talked about Randy Savage leaving, going to WCW, never coming back. We talked about the debut of The Rock with also Stone Cold Steve Austin having one of his first major storylines. Now we get into one of the most major moments, the major moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just said, oh, it's going to be every pay per view. We just got to talk about it. This is going to be like the one and done because I don't imagine us talking about this any more than we need to. November 9th, tonight, probably like it just finished, probably 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
30, like, the Montreal in 1997, the Montreal screw job. I'm not going to read this whole blurb about what happened because we all know what happened. But I'll just say that I'll leave the last part. It says the event caused a seismic shock in the wrestling world. Hart punched McMahon in the locker room after the event. Several wrestlers threatened to walk out of the company over the incident and betrayal. Hart would never appear in WWE ring again until 2010, and the notoriety from the moment directly led to Mr. McMahon character that played a huge part in WWE taking the mantle from WCW, the world's biggest wrestling company, following the year, a title it would never lose again.
Yeah. Lives rent free. The spitting in Vince McMahon's face. The image of him just on top of the ring, Brett spitting in his face. I mean, yeah, arguably you could say like the most pivotal moment of Vince McMahon's career. As it says at the end, like channeling that into Mr. McMahon, the
Mm-hmm.
character. Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that because up to that point, I mean, I'm pretty sure, or what everybody who is a wrestler or a fan of wrestling back in those days, there's no question that Bret Hart was the best in the world when it comes like between like in the ropes as a professional wrestler. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I honestly, I'm kind of jealous in this fact. Like, I wish I was like, wrestling cognizant for this, so I
Yeah.
could be fucking pissed off. But it's just more so a historical fact than anything for me, and just lives on in like I said, repeat video packages and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about this after the fact. Like my uncles, They were living in Canada at the time, and so like once I started getting into the wrestling, they're like, oh, like Bret Hart, Montreal Screwjob. I didn't really know much about it, but then you watch it, and then you listen to all the documentaries to be on the mats and all that stuff. You're just like,
Hmm.
okay, like yeah, this was definitely a major moment. Um, it's still pretty crazy to watch.
Hmm.
Even today, to this day, to go back and watch it again, it's just like everything about that match, especially knowing what happens in that match and then the things that come out after that match. It's crazy to watch. It's
Yeah.
really a turning point of like how everyone came out. They had the long walks from the backstage, following everybody coming out into the ring. It was in Montreal, Brett's home country. Fans are rabid. Like different time. That's
Yeah.
one of a kind moment, one of a
Yeah.
kind of a time.
I would say like pipe bomb before pipe bomb if like because pipe bomb is just a promo. You know what I'm saying? If you took pipe bomb and then he actually didn't wrestle for like that whole next year, like he actually wrestled after the pipe bomb. People forget that. Like he was still under contract. So if he didn't actually like wrestle there for a whole nother year and he actually just walked out the door like Bret Hart, it might have been as big. But yeah, like you said, where wrestling is position wise in the 90s, which is the number one thing. Everybody knows Bret Hart, everybody knows Shawn Michaels at this point in time. And at the peak, you do some shit like this, diabolical.
Crazy. Well, that's the book of wrestling for this week. Let's continue on down this boardwalk
The
into go
boutique.
into the boutique. SmackDown. Pretty decent episode, I'd have to say. I will start off with my top shelf, and this kind of connects back to Raw.
Hmm.
All Bloodline segments on SmackDown were top shelf for me. The
Okay.
opening segment with, Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy. I love the fact that Roman was when he was asked to apologize to Jay, he apologized and said, "For you wasting my time with this BS."
I knew exactly what I was coming. Sorry, go on
And
your monologue.
saying
Sorry.
basically what I was saying and feeling the entire time. I'm like, he's not even family. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, and then immediately getting into your top shelf when Roman just snaps and then just screams out Solo's name. Um, yeah. And then getting into the end of the night as well. How it ended as with Sammy coming out, uh kicking Solo, after, he was asking him to kick Roman and everything like that. So, we got a 4-on-4 set up right now for War Games, but what even makes it even better? Roman was like, I only see 4 here. You said you had a 5. Like, where's your 5th? And then Solo talking about Sammy's supposed to be the 5th. So it seems like we're still pushing for a 5th on both
Mhm.
sides. Seems like we might get Chizilla
Yeah.
on the new bloodline side, and it seems like we might get Rocky Johnson.
Yeah. I was it's funny because when Solo said that, I thought he was like misspeaking. You know what I mean? He
Mm-hmm.
was like, hold on, you need if you can find 4 other people that are bold enough to, tag with you or whatever the hell. And I'm like 4. I was like, nigga, the bloodline is just 4 people. You mean 1 plus 3 is 4. Like, what are you talking about?
When Roman brought
But
it up to Solo, I was like, "What you mean 5? Like it's supposed to be? I thought it was gonna be 4 on
yeah, it's
4."
4 on 4.
Like,
Exactly. So that's where I was like, okay, so we're counting Sammy as part of this. I was like, okay, yeah, that adds up to 5. But even still, like with him saying that, and clearly Sammy is being with OG Bloodline, it's 4 on 4. So that just leaves us, like you said, well, Solo's still planning for a 5th. He got an ace in the hole, whether it's Hikuleo or if it's Zilla. So It'd be fire. But really, the most captivating part to me, like it was my top shelf, was just the isolated incident of Roman yelling out Solo, because it's in that segment when he's getting under, or Jay, I believe, is it Jay or Jimmy that's getting under his skin? But
Jay.
Jay, and he's like, it's not about this, it's not about that, it's about Solo. And I was like, you know what? The reason I had that top shelf is because don't nothing get to Roman. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I think this is definite confirmation that in his own psyche, he's not the tribal chief, at least not officially, because he doesn't have the Ulafala, and the last time we checked, his shoulders were down. So that's where I think, that's where I get my top shelf from, that I think it actually really is affecting him, that he feels his position in the family actually is gone now. So granted, they're not holding all the gold like his bloodline used to be, but he still ain't in charge. So, and that's getting to him. So that's where I had it like
it's
that.
gonna be fun. And hey, Solo is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like his like,
his like, 'cause he knows he has a goofy ass laugh, and just leaning into it, I think it's really fucking good.
he's hilarious. I enjoy it. It's funny how they're able to put, like, the bloodline is so good because it's like it's a serious. There's more serious moments than not, but it's a hilarious storyline. There's some very funny moments in just watching it and people's reactions. Even Jimmy was like, he was trying to hold in laughing when Sammy was like, see, you still want this to be part of Back Together. Jimmy was like, yo, come on, bro. Like,
exactly.
He was trying to hold that in, so it was fun.
And Roman was doing his facial acting his ass off, like, you know, when he just does that nose sneer thing. He was doing the fuck out of this move. And that's his signature move. He was doing that shit the whole time anybody's talking. Like, I was like, all right, that's how we know stuff's getting to you. Cool. Trying to remain calm. But that's why I thought it was so good, because he just blows up. So full bloodline, all that stuff. Yeah, Primos. Finally, a women's US championship. That's what I think is honestly the most important thing. Like, if we're coming out of stories and shit, it's just like, finally, we got a mid-card title. Are you kidding me? So we're getting a women's intercontinental, right?
I don't think so. I think this is being defended on both shows.
That is so upsetting. It's not
it
like
is a bit upsetting. But because I'm like, the question begs, it's like, is the women's main roster deep enough to have two belts?
Exactly. Which, you add it all up, I mean, all these mid-card and tag team titles are obviously going to be defended on all the shows or all the brands. I'm sure that the United States, or the women's United States title, is going to go on NXT at some point in time, or make an appearance. You know what I mean? So that's what takes the wind out of the sails for me, because it's like, bro, you still got NXT. You got 3 brands that you can rotate them through. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me that you couldn't give me an Intercontinental also, but that's just
maybe.
My preference. I mean, at least we're getting one.
I think you can get an Intercontinental, but I think the problem would be, like, why bring in 2 titles at the same time and then have to establish history at the same time? It's like, why don't you just bring out one? And then with Raw and SmackDown both getting back to 3 hours, starting in January, they're going to be increasing the rosters. I mean, Raw already has its same roster. SmackDown is going to get an increased roster. Okay, now there's a little bit more opportunity to bring in the Intercontinental. So I wouldn't put it past that we would get a women's Intercontinental. I just don't think that's happening now.
Yeah. And also my next thought was like, because, you know, nowadays the women's championships are just the men's championships with white straps. And a whole lot of people don't like the Intercontinental. I think I'd like the Intercontinental title if it was the white strap instead of the black strap background, because my first thought was, I really liked Cody's old school looking white strap, like 2010 Intercontinental title, like when he was dashing Cody Rhodes. If they did a women's version of that, I think that would be super clean. Like,
they're not going to differentiate the belts.
Exactly, but I know that they would.
People were like, "Oh, WWE missed out on not having like the Statue of Liberty on the women's U.S. Championship belt." I'm like, It's a thought, but like, look, the women's heavyweight championship looks like the men's heavyweight championship.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
WWE undisputed title looks like the women's heavyweight championship or whatever they call
Yeah.
it on
WWE
SmackDown.
title.
The
Yeah.
WWE women's title. So there's going to be visual continuity. Even I'm sure the women's North American championship looks like the men's North American championship. So
Just
visual
like strap,
continuity.
baby. Yeah.
Did you have any other thoughts on the full Bloodline reunion as your primo that you didn't mention?
Oh no, I mean that was just basically the whole segment,
Okay.
all of it together, like you were talking about.
I
It
guess
was just that isolated incident of Solo that like really sent me over the edge, where I was like, oh yeah, Roman's not a fucking character. That's why I differentiated between the two, because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Roman the character is actually cracking a little bit. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll get into my other well, get into which one do you ditto? I guess.
that would be the pile drivers are protected. That would be the ditto.
Yeah, pile drivers are protected. Yeah, Kevin Owens gave Randy Orton a pile driver, and WWE was like, "Oh my god, a broken neck. We need to stop everything, and we need to take 15 minutes to get everybody here in the medical facilities and gurney him out and put him in the ambulance and take him." I thought, like, once they put him in the ambulance, I thought Kevin Owens was gonna be like, "Haha, Randy, I'm driving this motherfucker," like the Undertaker would always do.
Yeah.
So.
Just drive to reverse right into the wall.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was really dope. That, like, I mean, it is what it is, because again, like, you'll see how many pile drivers happen on AEW.
Oh yeah, come on now. It's nothing nowadays.
So it's funny. It's like on one TV show, it's like, oh my god, it's the most devastating thing ever. Though Tony Khan took a pile driver and was like, I gotta wear a neck brace for a week.
Yeah, exactly.
So. It's interesting to see how that plays out, but at least in WWE kayfabe, it's like pile drivers are a serious thing.
Yeah, just the most devastating thing ever. The reason I had Ditto up here too, because it's like, man, looking at Randy looks so fucking stupid. like selling that pile driver. I went back in that clip like at least 3 times, where just watching the impact of the pile driver. Obviously, like Kevin, he is so perfectly protected. His head doesn't even hit the ground. It's more so just sitting in the lap of Kevin, and he just like rolls over him.
Yeah.
But I just like, how hard is it to just be like dead? You know what I'm saying? Because Randy rolls over and he freezes like his hands in the air as he's on his side like this, and he's just like, oh, that's like his selling he's doing. And I was just like, put your arms down. Like, you should be knocked down.
It's like, when Tua got his concussion like last season, right? And he had that, like,
then do that.
The shot hands.
Yeah, the fencing thing. That's what they call it. When the hands start doing this shit, because Daniel Bryan was doing that on AEW when he took a bunch of pile drivers, and they were using that as part of the storyline. Bro, what gives you Rock'em Sock'em robot arms? Like, there's no condition that's going to give you rigor mortis of the arms. Like,
man, Randy's 48 years old, man. Let that man live. He's 48 years old.
No, you don't get an excuse as 48. All you had to do was, it would have been at least twice as good. Just put your arms down. Because your eyes are open also. So I know
they weren't teaching that at FCW or OVW.
I guess, yeah, you're right. OVW wasn't covering all that, but
he ain't getting the same training at these days at the performance center. He ain't a trained actor like these young cats coming out from the performance center.
Right.
That man is an old school. That man is an old school wrestler.
So what's Kevin doing now? So because Randy's got to be gone, like at least until Survivor Series, right? Is Randy just gonna make his return to Survivor Series and interfere or some shit? Like,
I don't know. I still like. I just hope what this ends is that, like, Kevin is probably going to be like kayfabe injured by Randy for a period of time, and maybe we get one of those cell phone videos from Kevin talking about, Randy, it's sad that I had to come to this point because, like, it made me realize that, like, we shouldn't be fighting each other. This is exactly what Cody Rhodes wanted.
Oh, there we go. Here's a clip.
This is
Go ahead,
exactly
finish
what Cody
that.
Rhodes. This is exactly what Cody Rhodes wanted. He's wanted us to fight because we don't have to come after him.
Mm.
Each of us have a deserving chance to have that to have a shot at that guy's title, and he knows it. But we helped him get his title, but we ain't get no love after that. We always got to be his lackeys and things of that nature. So again, it shouldn't be between me and you, Randy. We ain't got no beef because that's my whole point. Like, how did they even get this far? It all started with a little elbow, and then all of a sudden it's like you chose his side, blah blah blah. It's like, bro, Cody is playing y'all. He wants y'all to fight because it means that y'all not coming after him. Third eye.
All right.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the pile driver, Kevin?
I mean, he's being an asshole for sure. He knows he's not supposed to do that. Like, we know, so like this is malicious intent at this point. Like, there's no way that Kevin Owens, the character, can be like, I didn't mean to hurt him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think he's like too far gone at this point. The fact that like they put over the fact that he gave Randy a pile driver and say, oh, he knows that he has like, you know, he just came back from back surgery and all this type of stuff. It's like they really want us to believe that like that's the thing. That's the message that I got, is that they want us to believe so badly that Kevin is too far gone, that he can't like see what he's doing, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because we're also seeing this through the lens of Cody, like all the like these three being surrounded by the title, or the title being like flaunted in these two's faces, basically. You know what I'm saying? And I think that you got some, like, as you were describing that, I think you were like really filling out some story for me, honestly. Because I honestly I don't know where it's going. That's why I asked the question. And because I was like, I guess like KO is gonna get that title shot at Survivor Series, right? Because Randy's gone. So I like that, though.
I guess
coming back with like the alliance thing of like almost, yeah, if you have a scene like Joker and Harvey Dent, like when he's in the hospital, KO comes up to Randy, like, and he has that big fucking neck brace on, and he's like, hey,
yeah,
I had to do it. Cody's fucking out there. That makes sense. Like, as you say that shit, I was like, okay, that would be sick as fuck. Like, I would just have a hard time believing that like Randy breaks his neck or gets his neck broken. Randy gets his revenge and breaks KO's neck, and then they're like, you know what? We're even. Like, let's just be a that's a little bit of a jump, but other than that, I like it. So
the other option that I would have, it just doesn't work with Randy's character, is the fact that like if Randy was a different character, I would charge Kevin Owens with attempted murder.
Oh yeah, that's not his character, but yeah, you're right.
It doesn't fit his character.
In kayfabe, yeah, that is an attempted murder. In wrestling, basically.
Yeah.
So,
and I would have like the police and all that shit. I'm like, yo, attempted murder.
Yeah.
And eventually it works its way down to like aggravated assault, but like, you know.
Well, yeah. We saw attempted murder in Bad Blood. That was attempted murder in the Bad Blood and Hell in a Cell match. Like, come on.
My final primo was the Powerpuff Girls beating Nia and Tiffy. I thought it was a good match. It got a little, busy at the end with, Candice LeRae coming out, interfering, and then Naomi coming out and, doing something to help out. But overall, it was a great match. And there were some things I'm blanking on right now. It was a good match, and I think just kind of gets it involved that like what I liked about it is like Nia has shown, like, I think this showed me a lot of good things from both like the Nia versus Jade potential. From the fact that like Nia, again, just for her ability, just like how she's gotten better since she's, I guess had her second run in WWE. Whereas like, okay, like she's making Jade look good. It doesn't just need to be Bianca, that can make Jade look good. It's like Nia can make Jade look good. Like she hit her with a suplex and Nia gave her that suplex. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, okay, Nia, let's go. Like, that's pretty dope. It gave me more intrigue to see a Nia versus Jade matchup than I previously. I mean, not to say I wasn't anticipating it, but it was just like to see that little bit of preview gave me a. I'm like, it gave me okay. I'd look forward to it when the time comes. And then the same aspect of Tiffany versus Bianca, I think that's easier to see, but they're good together in the ring.
Yeah.
And I think we've
I
seen
know.
them in the ring before, but I think like with this evolved character of Tiffany compared to what she was when she first came in, I think it was going to be fun.
I know you asked it before. I'm about to just look it up on YouTube. I'm just seeing. I'm like, has Bianca hit a KOD on Nia before? She's done it at least once before, right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because my thought immediately is like, in the same way that, like, obviously, I mean, y'all are coworkers at the end of the day. So you got the person receiving the move obviously has to work with you and help you get it off. But
Mm-hmm.
like, because you need like core strength to like, flip your legs over your head during the KOD. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, the difference between that, because I'm like, Jaded would be, I don't know how long she can hold her there. Cause that's part of like the physical of it, when she walked around with Kyrie Sane and we were laughing because we were like, Kyrie just unlocks all of her moveset, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But that could be, I could still believe that Jade could get jaded off. It would just be more of a quick impact if she did it like, but just a, quick, obviously you have to jump with it, but
Yeah.
unbelievable for sure. And like I said, she's built like a fucking tank. Jade, I mean, definition wise and all that stuff. So even just watching it, it's like, it wasn't out of place when you see her counter Nia. Even though we never see that in a standing suplex, it didn't feel out of place during the match. Where I was like, okay, exactly like you said. I was like, okay, vertical suplex to
Yeah.
Nia from Jade, okay. And that goes to, like, you're always talking about like behind the scenes of it, but yeah, the fact that she gave it to her, because they give the people behind the character some type of like, character defining trait or some shit like that. Nia is the irresistible force and nobody
Mm-hmm.
can get her off her feet for the most part. So the fact that anybody does should be a big deal. And I like that they
Yeah.
did that for Jade.
Same. Final thought that I have from SmackDown. Motor City Machine Guns beating A-Town Down Under. And it's not so much the match per se, and this is more of a holistic kind of shout out to, I think the tag team division, at least on the men's side, is going to be in a better spot with actual like legitimate tag teams and not these
Yeah.
thrown together tag teams. I think Motor City Machine Guns have obviously they've been together for 20 years, whatever. They obviously have like a move set that is tag team move set, not just two people that are just doing stuff together and figuring things out on the fly. There is a rhyme and a rhythm to how they tag team that works well. And I'm also going to call out the War Raiders as well. I think their match against the New Day on Raw did the same thing. I think when you see those two teams, and I imagine when you get the Lucha Bros to come in as well, and you have Gallus as well.
Yeah, if whenever they come up main roster, but yeah, they're there for sure.
That's like
you said Gallus.
Yeah, I meant Creed Brothers, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Either way, you know what I'm saying?
Boys, yeah, I got you.
But like just the fact that like there are actual tag teams and not just teams that were just put together. And the New Day and the Street Profits, passing of the torch.
Yeah.
Passing of the torch. So
yep.
But I think with this new crew, I think with this new batch, like I think we're gonna be in better hands. Not better hands, but I think we're gonna see an uptick just for the fact that like we're no longer gonna just be working with just throwing together teams anymore.
Yeah. And just to add on to I didn't put this in there, but this would be Shake just because my boys had a reappearance of Pretty Deadly, but they were squashed individually by Tommaso Ciampa, like him by himself. So that's where it's like obviously awful. And it's like, damn, these guys just back in catering. Even when you're on TV, you're in a tag team match, and that's one half of the tag team takes you out. This isn't even like Kane or Undertaker. That guy's 200, 210 pounds, 220 pounds, same size as you.
Nah, again, no, I'd throw them in there too. Pretty Dudley,
yeah, I would hope so.
I'd throw them in there
Hopefully,
too.
yeah. Hopefully they're not let go.
I think
before they get a chance to
DIY.
really
I think
rise.
DIY is going to be done with.
Yeah.
Again, that comes off to me as more thrown together than Pretty Deadly or any of these other teams.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because like I don't know, I don't want to get into their whole story. They were tag teams back in NXT. I know you knew that. Oh yeah, we don't got. Yeah, I don't need to go into the detail. But yeah, you're right. Just the chemistry, feeling wise.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say.
Let's get into the end of the show. End this out with the champion of the week.
Yeah, and I did. I'm proud of myself. I actually do want to start this time. This is the. You must be a goddamn genius. You must have an IQ of 160. The drill sergeant from Forrest Gump is going to Dominic Mysterio. And it was hard not to ruin it at the very beginning, but obviously this is in reference to the Fatal 4-Way match. And as the tsunamis were coming in, what's Dom doing? He's just keeping an eye at a distance. He's like, yo, take those motherfuckers out. Like, he knew damn well he had no business being in that ring. And this is where I say, like, because you was not riding for that Dom winning shit. And then when Bronson Reed showed up, I was like, is Dom winning? Because I was like, is Dom gonna win? I fucking believed it, dog. Like, when he lined up Damian for that frog splash and hit him, that was like,
I mean, that's part of the reason why we had it in Primo, because it's like, I can see why people would believe that, because it's like, all right, Bronson Reed just came through and just torpedoed this whole entire scenario.
Yeah.
Like, Dominic somehow skirted by and is now the only person that can easily get a 1, 2, 3 in this situation. Like, it's handed to you on a silver platter. So it would make sense.
I just thought, if anything, that it's already a fatal 4-way. There's already no DQ. So yeah. I just didn't imagine Bronson Reed was going to come down. I just figured it would have been, I don't know. Like, I still had Damian winning in my head, though, because like I said, that's the smart actual answer. So I was just like, all right, how are we going to get there? And then the waves of the tsunami start coming. And then
if you didn't think Bronson Reed was going to come in, how's your answer not Seth?
Because he was, I don't want to say cooled off, but like, obviously we know that he's in a rivalry with Bronson Reed.
Okay.
I just didn't have him interfering and causing that loss. That's all. Okay. Because it's fatal 4-way, so I was like, any number of dynamics could have happened.
Yeah,
quick roll up or whatever. So
okay, no, that's fair. I do like your title though. That was very good of you to come up with that, because you didn't have it at the beginning of the show. So I don't know when and during the show you came up with it, but that's a very funny one. It's aptly fitting for what you were describing. So that was a good one.
I was just thinking, I'm like, what's one of those smart quotes? And then I thought of, finally, you must have an IQ of 160. That's right. Stay out of the way of Bronson Reed. He will.
It is good, because I would compare Dominic Mysterio to Forrest Gump. So that is.
Yeah.
My champion of the week, I'm gonna call this That's So Raven. I was just gonna call it That's So Raven, but I originally had to call it the That's So Raven flash forward, because title belt to the Street Profits. Because as I hopped on to Twitter, I saw this Montez Ford put up this tweet saying "elephant in the room." It's like a 2-minute promo of him just kind of talking about how, like, they're done. They mention, Bobby, not by name, but, they allude to Bobby Lashley once being here and then leaving and going to do his own thing. And so how, like, they going to be in everybody's business. It doesn't matter. And it starts next week with these tag team championships. It's all or nothing. And, for me, I just do that whole Raven Simone, just like, That's So Raven flash forward premonition, and be like, oh, so y'all gonna lose next week. And what I hope when you do lose next week is that, like, you don't just shake their hands, you just beat their ass. Like, I hope they whip their ass like the BCC did
Mm,
during Dynamite.
yeah.
Like, I need to see ambulances to these tag team champions.
Yeah, yeah. To take you seriously, for sure. Like to scrub off, like, because the pride I thought was about to work until they just kept stopping with it. Like he said in that interview previously, they looked
Yeah.
good when they came out, but it was just like never stuck. And the only thing people really attached to was the party guys with the solo cups raining from, the rafters of the stadium, which are like heavy faces. So yeah, it's time for character development from them, and I would not be mad at that at all. Like they are both significantly larger than the tag team champions, so it's nothing for them to, like you said, lay them the fuck out. Like
I'm
some,
just curious, like, yeah, like I hope they just stick to their word of like, you're gonna be in everybody business, then you need to be on both shows. You need to be in all three shows by that fact.
mm-hmm.
I don't care what it is. Like you want to hop in the LA Knights US title? Go ahead. You want to hop in on the Intercontinental title beef? Go ahead. Like, I don't even care. Like I said, like, same thing I kind of asked with the like in AEW. I'm like, if y'all gonna be the EVPs, be in everybody's business. If this your show,
Mm-hmm.
don't just focus on it within your 30 minutes that you're allotted to. You need to take up all these 2 hours and show us at your show.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
Yes, hopefully
we
they
talked about it
stick to their
last
word.
week.
Yeah.
We're seeing a promo. I don't think this promo was on TV. I think this was released on the internet. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing this on TV. But make something out of this.
Yeah. I get
Because
you. You
right
don't
now,
want them
my
to
That's So Raven premonition seems like you gonna lose next week, and I just hope it's not just gonna be like you lose and then you sit in the ring depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, y'all need a Kevin Owens this joint. Y'all need a BCC this joint. These two dudes.
Yeah, I ain't mad at that for sure. We all want more for the profits for sure.
So that was my champions of the week. Those are your champions of the week, and that is a long ass show with some technical difficulties, but we did it.
Damn straight. And
Episode
family
18.
members, hopefully no emergencies. I'm going to call Uncle David back now. But in the meantime, between time, how about you guys smash that like button, follow and subscribe, give us a shout out if you want to. Tell your parents, your sisters, your cousins, and goddaughters all about us. Just all people that fall under those categories. At the Wrestling Re-Up, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch soon, and now Spotify, right?
Spotify, yeah, and all podcasting platforms that you'll be able to find it on. So we making moves. We making moves. And now that we're on Riverside, we'll also be able to make clips for social. They have this thing called like magic clips. So like, they'll like take little segments from here and chop it up for you. So you could just easily boop, 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 paste in,
Thank
post on
goodness.
TikTok and stuff. So
Thank goodness.
things will be easier for you to get on that side to spread the word. Anyways, that's that's the episode. You have anything you want to say before we head off?
No, that was all. Follow us on
All right,
socials at the Wrestling Re-Up, people. We getting off the ground. You're getting in on the ground floor of something dynamic.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Peace, y'all. All right. Let's see how that turned out on the